At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Northwest Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 479-203-5880, or visit our website at directservicenwa.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, welcome everybody to Thursday pregame show. Arkansas taking on BYU on the road. Alongside me, we had a change of plans this week. We were going to have Otis Kirk, but Dudley Dawson has blessed us with his presence. Dudley, how you doing?
Let's do it like they say. Otis Kirk is on assignment.
He is on assignment. Yeah, he is on assignment. So he's off doing his thing. Dudley, I'm loving the hat. I'm still waiting on mine. Am I getting when am I getting my hat?
It's in the truck next time you see me.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about Arkansas and BYU, but first, Arkansas had a scrimmage against the Texas Rangers Instructional League, and Dudley Dawson was there last night. You're going to be there again tonight. What were your impressions of last night? I realize it's a scrimmage; it's super early, but what were kind of your impressions based on what you saw?
You're playing a team that has had prospects anywhere from 17 to 24. They're prospects that have been drafted or signed as free agents by the Texas Rangers organization, and there was a lot of talent on that team, including a 17-year-old that came in. He's 17 years old and 2 months. Who's had the opportunity to come in and pitch. They did end up getting to him for 5 runs in the 8th, and that kind of blew things open. But I think the number one thing that stood out is Arkansas did not give up a single earned run the whole night. They had an error in the first inning on a simple pop-up play. Dude yanked a 2-run home run, but it was a 2-run home run after 2 outs, so those were unearned. Then 8 straight innings of scoreless baseball with guys coming out of the pen and then firing away anywhere from 95 to 98. Also, Jackson Wiggins, known for his fastball getting that high, dropped in a curveball at 79. So there was quite a difference in the speed of his 2 pitches or several pitches that would lead you to believe that he's becoming more of a pitcher than just a fastball fire in there guy.
So overall, I woke up today and I had text messages about, hey, you need to ask Dudley about the pitching. Apparently last night they were absolutely phenomenal. You kind of touched on it already a little bit, but what did you make of the bullpen?
Yeah, the bullpen came in, and it's interesting because some of these guys, maybe Hunter Holland, who's a lefty that transferred in from San Jack, he could very well be a starter. He could very well be the closer. He came in and pitched well. You didn't even have some of the other guys. Hagen Smith, Austin Ledbetter will be guys that will go today at 4 o'clock when they play these guys again. But they just kept coming. Cody Adcock, came in. You had guys just, Gage Wood at the back of the bullpen, with the 9th inning. Just, they just kept coming in and firing strikes. And that's the big thing that, you want to see in any pitching staff, whether it's from a high school to the major league level. And, I think it was very impressive. And that really gives them 2, I think, public impressive outings because they did pretty well in the Hogs Fall Baseball Classic, which was on September 30th. So, I think that's going to end up being a strength, especially the length and depth of the bullpen that they have. And they've got, probably 5, 6, 7 guys that could start. And now it'll just be a matter of who's going to, put in the work during the off season and who comes ready to go in the spring and ready for their opening tournament at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas.
They're going to be deep in the bullpen. That was kind of my belief in the off season because they didn't have a ton of turnover there. And it looks like they got a lot of guys back. How many total transfers do they have on this roster? Do you have that in front of you?
I believe that it was 13 transfers, 28 new faces out of 46. Now there will be some attrition because you cannot have 44 on the roster. You have to get it down, I think, to 36. So we'll probably see a few guys transfer out. But I think that everybody that you saw last night, and everybody that you'll see today is probably safe.
Yeah. Well, it's always a good sign. I mean, say what you want about this opponent they played, but at least they're already showing signs of positivity. Hog fans need a little bit of that. That feels like not only is basketball trending in the right direction, baseball's nothing new there. I mean, the expectation every year is going to the College World Series now. So that just says a lot about Dave Van Horn and what he's managed to do. All right, and then again today, you said 4:00 at Baum.
4:00, yeah. They'll throw out several more pitchers than they pitched last night, and then a lot of these frontline guys are going to take. That'll be it for them because they are going to have maybe 2 or 3 scrimmage games next week, but they're going to throw a lot of the young ones because once you get through this competition, they don't want you getting hurt, and so the guys that you see throw today and tomorrow probably won't throw in the scrimmages next week.
Ramon Shiesty wants to know about Diggs. What about Diggs? He was looking real good.
Yeah, talked to him after the game last night. He's feeling good about what's going to happen this season. He went and played summer ball, and he felt real good about that. Played first base and third base. Him and Jason Jones and Caleb Calley have all been trading at first and third base. He's also played some outfield in some of the scrimmages that we haven't been able to see. And that could be, something in the mix for him as well. And obviously there's always the DH spot, but I know that he wants to be in the field. He wants to be a position player. And it looks like that's going to happen because, obviously he has a big bat, but he also can help them defensively. And somebody who, a lot of people remember for the 1 home run last year, but, I think he's a little bit more than that. I think he's a complete hitter.
Yeah, I liked what little I saw of him. I say what little. What I got to see of him last year, I liked what I saw at him. I think he's a promising player, and then all these transfers and what they have coming back in the bullpen makes me feel pretty good. Makes me feel a lot better than the Cardinals postseason play. Dudley.
It didn't work. 2-10 in their last 12 playoff games, but I'm sure I'll find a way to get another NL East Division Championship T-shirt.
There you go.
But that's not what we're about. We're about winning world championships, and it will have been 12 years after that. So,
yeah.
It's tough being a defending champion, don't you?
No comment. No comment. Although you say that, I was sitting here looking at my Rams Super Bowl champion Kurt Warner card that I have here. Yeah, got that at the mall.
That's cool.
And I had I had Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald cards I got at the mall. Don't ask me how much I paid for them, entirely too much.
Have you got a Cooper Rush one yet?
Oh, the audacity, sir. At least, look, though.
I enjoy it because Philadelphia may light us up this weekend. So.
Well, that's gonna be a ball game. Oh man, I'm actually excited. Didn't think I would say that about NFC East opponents matching up. And here I am kind of looking forward to wanting to watch that game. All right, let's focus in on what everyone wants. And by the way, again, tonight, 4:00, Baum Stadium, for those of you in NWA who want to go check out the Razorbacks.
It is free. Admission is free, and they will have concessions. So,
there you go. So if you want a snack and watch some baseball, some good baseball, go watch the Hogs take on the I just had it up here, the Texas Rangers Instructional League team. All right, we've already got the question.
I like to get that down to Texas prospects, Rangers prospects.
Yeah. We've got some football stuff coming in. Mike and them says, Dudley, I feel like something is fishy with Dom John. Sam said he was cleared and it was up to him, and he's seldom on the field. Strange. What are you making of Dominic Johnson? What's going on?
I have to agree. And he came in at A&M and got, with 3 carries for 34 yards, and really haven't seen him since. The kid's 6'3", 240. If ever there was a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1 back, he's that guy. And I want to give Rocket a lot of credit. He's still leading the SEC in rushing, I believe. And I know they feel real good about the way Rashad Dominion is coming on. But it is weird, that he's just not getting enough carries. I don't know, they're very hushed with injuries over there a lot. I don't know if he's, suffered a setback in the A&M game or if something's going wrong, but it does not make any sense. all things being equal, he would be getting plenty of carries for me, especially this weekend when I think it's going to be a big key to keep BYU off the field. That's something that Notre Dame did last week. Notre Dame get out to 25-6 lead, and they did that by possessing the ball a lot in the first half, and it ended up being 40 minutes out of 60 worth of possession time for Notre Dame. That's how you keep BYU from scoring. BYU's got a lot of really good athletes, and certainly at the skill positions. But I think if you are a SEC football team, as you bill yourself being a physical football team, that's what you got to go up there and do. And by God, 6'3", 240 running back, that's pretty physical.
And they have so many options back there. And you could say, well, he's gotten lost in that bunch. That's not the case. I think he's just not seeing the field. And I think he is probably in that group of maybe being 1A or 1B to Rocket Sanders' 1A. I think he should be getting more carries than AJ Green and Rashad Dubinion. Nothing against those guys. Dubinion, I mean, what little we see of him, he explodes. You mentioned time of possession and how to beat BYU. That's exactly what Notre Dame did. I mean, they ran the football for 234 yards off 45 rushing attempts, averaging 5.2 yards a carry. It also helps they only had one penalty for 10 yards. I don't see the Razorbacks limiting that, but they had nearly 41 minutes of time of possession to BYU's 1905.
Yeah, and I've had a chance to watch a lot of BYU live, and I've gone back and watched some tape of them as well because I tape all the games of the Arkansas opponents to try to get a pretty good handle on things. And they, again, I can't reiterate, Jaron Hall, their quarterback, Epps, the wide receiver. You know, they've got several good wide receivers, pretty good back. But this is a football team that gets frustrated if you leave them on the sidelines. And you could see that. That's why the Utah State and some others have been able to be in games with them. Obviously, Oregon roughed them up pretty good, and Notre Dame, although I think the score ended up being, looking close, 28-20. You go back and review that game, and there really was never much doubt that Notre Dame was going to win that football game, which was, by the way, in Las Vegas.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was played in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. There was some type of deal where they had gone home and ended up both teams decided, well, let's just play in Las Vegas. So, that's just good. By the way, if you want to have a game off campus, Mr. Yurchek, Las Vegas, excellent place for one of those.
Road trip.
Yeah, but I don't think there's going to be any neutral site games for a while until they definitively have 6 or 7 home games a year.
I've griped about this a lot. I don't like this late in the year, and I've kind of beaten this over the head so much. I feel like I'm a broken record. I hate that they're going this far out west this late in the year for a non-conference opponent. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, well, it would have been the second game of the season, but the SEC schedule, when they put South Carolina into that spot for Arkansas had to bump it down, is my understanding. So, and unlike some schools, Michigan, Arkansas tries to honor its contracts, and the good thing, win or lose, and I can see positives for each way it goes. You got a bye week next week, and they can get healthy. They can, try to get a new mindset going down. Even if you win the football game, you still have to have a different mindset than I think you've had. This football team is reeling. I think it's frustrating for the coaches. It's frustrating for the players, and I know it's frustrating for the fans, but I guarantee you that you don't care any more than they do.
It's true. John wants to know, and this is, by the way, our moderator. I don't think I've actually made him a mod yet here, but he is going to be a moderator on this channel. Haas, bear with me on that. I need to get that fixed. He wants to know, I want to know what you all think about McAdoo and Mbake moving to defensive back and what Pittman said about getting them significant playing time after the bye. I actually had that in my notes to ask you what you thought about now we've got McAdoo back there, or we had McAdoo last week is when we found out, and now we've got We had M'Bakke back there, and now we've got McAdoo back there. What is this? Is this desperation? Is this what you're seeing, or is this? What are you making of this move?
Well, you could use the phrase desperation because obviously all the injuries have frustrated the coaching staff, frustrated the secondary. I will say two things, and this is the way I understand what's going on over there. The two freshman wide receivers who have moved over there, M'Bakke actually had some scholarship offers as a defensive back, even though he hadn't played it since his sophomore year. McAdoo was a two-way player at Clarendon. Yeah. And really was an outstanding two-way player. And in fact, I had a couple of scouts tell me they thought he'd play on that side of the ball instead of wide receiver, which, was kind of surprising to me. But here's the thing I think that's happening. We all know that Jalen Lewis and Anthony Brown, very highly recruited kids, defensive backs from Tennessee, have not played yet this year. These two kids that are moving over there have. Their red shirt's gone. In the 8th game of the year, I suspect you will see Jalen Lewis and Anthony Brown begin to play. They will not lose their red shirt. As far as McAdoo and M'Bakke seeing significant playing time, if I was a coach and I had two guys that had just moved from wide receiver, and by the way, they asked M'Bakke, McAdoo volunteered.
Yeah.
That if I had them going over there and knowing they want to come back to wide receiver, they're going to be allowed to, then I would say lots of great things about them. And, you're going to see playing time and this to continue to keep their head in the game and get the practice. Now, do I believe if Miles Slusher gets healthy, Kari Johnson gets healthy, I could keep going down. If Dwight McLaughlin gets healthy, you could just keep going down the list. If I believe all those guys get healthy, will McAdoo and M'Bakke see significant time? No. If they don't, may have to. But it is a mass unit over there. You can to talk about the injuries. You can talk about maybe recruiting not being at the level it should have been over there. But you can say desperation. But what do? You do nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do something. So it's not the optimal thing that you want to do, but. I do think from what I'm hearing, that's the biggest thing. You do not want to burn Anthony Brown and Jalen Lewis's red shirt. And if you get them and let them play in the 8th, 9th, 10th, or it's these 9, 10, 11, 12, the last 4 games, then they could keep their red shirt and you could get them some snaps. So I think you're going to see that. I also think that may be the case with Isaiah Satega.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought if that's the case, what they do with Centennial. Do we see him line up at the slot maybe these last few games so they don't burn the red shirt? Let me ask you too about this red shirt rule. It used to be 3 a little while back, then they moved it to 4. That also includes the bowl game, right? If they play, let's say they play 4 games, the last 4 games during the regular season, and then they play in the bowl game, they then effectively burn their red shirt still.
Yeah, if you needed them to play in the bowl game, then there's a lot of people over the course of these last couple of years since they've had this who they've made a decision. Okay, you're not playing in the last game with Missouri because you were going to let you play in the bowl game. I shouldn't, and I'm not talking about Arkansas in general because we know I haven't been through a lot of bowl games here lately. But they try to do the best thing. They try to get them snaps. Then maybe you take them away, and there have been bowl games non-conference games that they haven't played in to let them play in the bowl game. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, which is one of my favorite sayings because it's just a matter of nothing's working. Try something, but while you're doing that, while you're thinking about short term, you need to think about the long term too. And the 3 kids I just mentioned, I think all will be very good football players down the line. But do you go ahead and burn that red shirt? To me, no. To me, it's not to that point yet. And I think that as you look back on it, you have to make those, like I said, you have to make those decisions with long term and short term. Now, the biggest difference now and how it used to be though is the transfer portal, where you can just jump in there right away. You would have to worry, and I've heard nothing to indicate those 3 kids or anybody else is thinking about getting into the transfer portal. You do have to worry about that if kids don't play. early in the season, their mindset, those around them talking to them, saying you'd be better off here. And obviously, Isaiah, was at one point committed to Texas A&M, another point committed to Oregon.
Yeah.
I imagine there's lots of discussions going over there, but you know what? Coaching is not just about X's and O's; it's about relationships as well, and that's something you're having to take care of and deal with on a daily basis, especially in this new frontier with the transfer portal.
The portal's changed everything. I mean, we knew when it was coming, or when the NCAA announced it and all that, like it was going to be a big deal. I don't think we fully grasped just how big of a deal. It's like they opened up Pandora's box, and I mean, what do you do from this point on? Like, how do you handle it? How do you regulate it? And you could tell they're changing the rules as they go, and they're trying to adapt as best they can. BYU going to be a tough opponent. Offensively, they're a pretty solid team. Something that stands out to me, and again, I did not realize, I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of the Baylor Notre Dame game at all. I caught highlights. I did not realize they were in Vegas. But something that did stand out to me looking at their numbers, they don't give up a lot of sacks, and they don't turn the ball over a lot. Like, really at all. They don't turn the ball over very much. What does Arkansas got to do to keep them off balance other than keeping their offense on the sidelines? We know that Arkansas's offense has struggled to maintain drives. They've struggled capping off and finishing drives. They've struggled in the red zone. So when Arkansas's defense is out on the field against this pretty staunch BYU offense, what's the key for the defense? Do they switch up? Do they bring more than 3 this week? Do they try? How do you handle Hall? This quarterback, Jaron Hall, who's thrown for 1,500 yards. By the way, 69% completion ratio, 14 passing touchdowns to 2 picks, but he has been sacked 9 times. How do they approach this BYU offense this week?
Well, I'm sure that from the moment that the ball game was over last week, Arkansas started, taking a look at what they want to do. I'm going to touch on the 3-man rush and all that in a minute, but the number one thing, and I don't think it can be discounted, is Arkansas has no room for error. They cannot go up there and have the penalties that they've had. You cannot on offense put yourself in 3rd and 12s, for that matter, 2nd and 15s, whatever. You can't play behind the sticks. You just can't do it. It's not great to do it at home. You certainly can't do it on the road. And it's going to be a whiteout up there. It's their homecoming game. I mean, it's an SEC team. They're going to be nuts. And I don't guess you talk about them being spirited the way some of the SEC crowds are, but they are very into it. And if you've watched their games, you see that it's a crowd that really loves their football team and goes all out when they're there in stands. So the penalties, that's just number one. Number two, Arkansas's 3rd down percentage has not been anywhere near weird penalties, and that's it. As I said, putting yourself behind the sticks. You have got to have in that vein. You have got to have some good 1st down plays. Now, while I do expect Arkansas to really run the ball, try to be physical, try to maintain the clock, that doesn't mean I don't think you should rear up and throw. That you shouldn't rear up and throw on 1st down. I think you've got to mix that in. It's got to be a varied offense, even though you're going to lean heavily on the run. Now, that being said, and I hate to sound like a coach, you swing to the other side of the ball, it seems whether it's 2nd and 32, as it was at Texas A&M, if it's 3rd and 15, you're always seeing the Arkansas defense give up plays that if they needed 15, they get 17. They needed 8, they get 10. You have a lot of teams, Mississippi State being one of them, that feel so good about their getting close on 3rd down that they just go for it on 4th down. You are going to have to get BYU off the field. You can't make mistakes. As you talked about, they don't make a lot of turnovers. Jaron Hall, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I don't know how you do it, but you got to come up with a way to do it. Now, to the 3-man, 4-man rush. Look, man, Jaron Hall is not as good a quarterback as Will Rogers, but he's a very good quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. He'd rather beat you with his arm because he has the good wide receivers and all that. Yeah. But Arkansas to me has shown no ability to cover in the secondary in a man. They've shown no ability, or at least not as good ability to cover in a zone. You've now tried both. You got really big when you were in the 4-man. You got really big sack numbers, and that was mostly bringing Sanders up and letting him get off. But you're giving up one way or the other. If there was a lot of talent over there that was healthy, that you felt good about, man, I'd have 4 down and I'd get after somebody. And one of the reasons I'd do it is because I would not then be taking the criticism for, you just had 3 down, you're not doing anything and all that. But you've got to do what you think is best for your football team. I'm sure that they broke down film all this week. And I know they have offensive consultants that have been breaking down BYU's films before that. You've got to come up with a game plan. It's got to be a variation of what you've been doing, but you still stick to the same principles. They can't play man. They just simply cannot do it. Couldn't do it with a healthy secondary, although that was one thing that Coach Odom said during the summer he really wanted to do. It just didn't work. We saw teams just light them up. And one even thing we saw more was the first 2 games really of Spencer Rattler and Cincinnati's quarterback had a little bit better touch. Man, I'm not so sure that they wouldn't be sitting here wanting whatever. So it is a tough decision, but they get paid a lot of money to sit over there and do what they need to do to figure this out, and we'll see.
Yeah,
that's a long way to go to say, man, ain't nothing been working. I don't know what they're going to do, but they better do something.
Yeah, I mean, to summarize, that's it. I don't know what they do, and I've had people ask me this week in my either text messages or DMs or whatever, Ty, what's the approach? What do they do? And it's like, man, I guess if it were me, knowing the secondary is in the situation that they're in, maybe I would just pin my ears back. But these quarterbacks will light you up. And guys like Hall will identify and know exactly what's happening before it happens. I've seen him play a little bit. He could be a pretty dynamic player. And honestly, I think the best game plan is what you mentioned. And it's one that I said Arkansas should do for Mississippi State, which is keep that offense on the sidelines, run the ball, because you should be able to run the ball against Mississippi State and hold on to the time of possession, complete your drives, and be active in the red zone. And that's the game plan really from here on out. That's probably what we're going to say every week. Eat up time of possession. Don't let the other team on the field. That has to be their goal every week in practice and watching film. Like, all right, well, we're going to sustain drives. We're going to eat up clock, and we're going to take the wind out of their lungs by keeping their offense on the sidelines. Because the defense, the secondary, they're about as effective as a wet paper bag. Let's be real. It's almost a joke when other teams try to run the ball against Arkansas. Like, what are you doing? You and I talked about that the Alabama game. Like, just throw the ball. Arkansas, it's not that complex. Their secondary is very much in trouble. And I do think the injuries have played a major role, Dudley, but when you look at recruiting over the last 2 or 3 years, it's not been good on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think you can name off a couple of guys here and there. I'm really excited about Cam Ball, for sure. Bumper Pool's obviously in his final season, and I realize he was a part of a different era, but Bumper Pool's a solid player. But man, the recruiting the last 2 or 3 years has just been not great on the defensive side of the ball. And we're seeing what happens when you've got to deal with a little bit of adversity in terms of injuries. They don't have it. They don't have quality depth. And they got a long ways to go on the defensive side of the ball. Someone asked about Malik Hornsby. I don't know where the comment went. Haas wants to know, should we start Hornsby just to get a fast start? Man's first touch last week was 52 yards in a blink.
That's something you could do, but you might lose the football too.
Yeah.
Because KJ is viewed by those kids as the number one quarterback. Not only is the number one quarterback, but the leader of the team.
Yeah.
Not the leader of the offense, but the leader of the team. And yes, Malik had that 52-yard burst last week, and yeah, you've got to figure a way to get that speed in the game somehow. But it's not time for gimmicks. This is a quarterback who supposedly was the second or third best quarterback in the league, according to the experts. Now, not having Treylon Burks has certainly hindered that. I think he'd be the first to tell you he hadn't had the greatest year either. But I think it's important, and you go back and you look at the defenses that Mississippi State had out there, they really weren't worried about the pass with Malik Hornsby. And that worked well for Arkansas because they put so many people in the box that you had guys wide open. And Jaden Hazelwood, some of the other guys made plays, caught the ball. Bryce Stevens, I mean, the pass to Bryce Stevens was beautiful. That was, I think, Hornsby's best pass of the day. I think a lot of the others were successful because of the defense that Mississippi State is in. Yep. I guarantee you that if the BYU sitting there looking at film, KJ is harder to defend than Malik. And I know that as soon as Malik does come in the ballgame, it's going to be him. They're going to be focused on him. Where I think the offense with KJ is a little more varied now. I'm not the smartest man in the room, even if I'm the only man in the room. But I have watched a lot of football over the years, and I realized that it's just sometimes there is a mindset that you have to go in with as well while you're making X's and O's. And while I certainly can see some getting Hornsby in some plays this week now that he's a full-time quarterback. But I think that you better watch it. You better watch what you're doing because you got your leaders back. I suspect, I think I may have said this earlier, I suspect that all the uproar about Malik Hornsby and KJ's not this good is going to lead to him having a really good football game this week, whether Arkansas loses or not. He loves the challenge.
Yeah, and, to your point, I agree. It's not the time for gimmicks. I agree. I mean, it's let KJ get in there. He's the leader of this team. If you're going to beat BYU, it's going to be with him. So, yeah, I agree.
You at least feel a little bit better if KJ does go back out there and get hurt, or he gets re-injures or gets hurt or whatever.
Yes,
then Malik can do a little bit more than we've seen in practice. And I've made this statement, I think, on the post-game show, and I keep reiterating it. Malik, you hope, has turned a corner on the maturity, the responsibility, the attention to details, being a good teammate and all that. If that's the case, then, the future is going to be bright for him. But for anybody to just sit out here and act like the coaches were putting him in a bad position and not giving him a chance, he was getting plenty of snaps. But in the time we saw, he would throw the ball to the defense more than he would the offense, or at least a similar amount. So that's what was keeping him off the field. And that's why they accelerated, Cade Fortin up to number 2, because they just didn't feel comfortable with his work effort and what he was doing in practice. Now, maybe he's turned a corner, and I certainly wish him well and think he has a lot of ability, but it wasn't a holding the man down deal.
No, he was getting opportunities. One way or another, he was getting opportunities on the field. And and I don't know. I in camp, I don't know. My first thoughts were, oh boy, if something happens to KJ, they're in some trouble. But Malik, yeah, you're right. Now you feel a little bit better, and that is the truth. That's what fans wanted to see. They wanted him to come out and show that he could be the guy, that he could lead the offense up and down the field. That's something the coaches wanted to see and his teammates wanted to see, and we finally saw it. Unfortunately, he turned the ball over in the game a couple times. I think those were both, ill-advised throws, especially that second one. I think he was intending to hit Nathan Backs, and he was in double coverage. The first interception was just an underthrown ball. I mean, put a little bit more air underneath it, and that might have been 6. I don't know. Have to take another look at it. But, I do feel a little bit better. Something happens to KJ, and I think fans do as well. And that's, again, something they wanted to see. There's no hope at this point. They're 3-9 or 4-8. That is a real possibility, says iPone Kyle.
I think it's a possibility, sure. I mean, if you don't get things picked up, you don't find ways to get better defense, and you don't find ways to get the ball into the end zone when you get to the red zone. I mean, that's another thing. What was it? Four times they got there last week, and had to kick field goals or turn the ball over. I mean, you've got to improve that. So yes, 3-9 and 4-8 is a definite possibility. I definitely agree with that. Now, do I think they're going to do that? No. My preseason prediction was 7-5. I think right now I'd said it's 6-6, but I wouldn't bet the house on that.
I wouldn't either. I don't know, man. Everyone keeps talking about, well, this is the same thing as last year when they lost 3 straight. But my counter argument to that is, well, yeah, but the body of work was more impressive.
And you had a much more experienced, deeper team because of the 15 super seniors that were on this team that had the extra COVID year and all that. It is not the same situation.
Yep. I agree. That's apples and oranges to the folks that are saying that. This is apples and oranges. This team isn't as deep. The secondary was already having issues before the injuries in the secondary. Thank God for Jordan Dominic, Landon Jackson, Drew Sanders on the defensive side of the ball. That is the light at the end of the tunnel back there. I'm loving Hudson Clark at middle safety. Dwight McLaughlin has been he leads the team in picks. What more can you say? This Pepsi is just coming right back up. This Pepsi Zero, man, it's just coming right back up. But yeah, there are some. It's not all bad. It's not all negative. And I know people accuse us of that, and they accuse me of being a negative Nancy. But I do think there are bright spots, and I'm with you on the offensive side of the ball in terms of how to deal with BYU. Like I said earlier, that's going to be probably their game plan and should be their game plan every week. I'm liking that they're trying out things in the secondary. They're moving guys over. And I like what you said. I hadn't even thought about the freshmen that hadn't played yet. Like, give them the opportunity in those final 3 or 4 games of the season so they don't burn their red shirt. We haven't seen everything. There is no escape button. There is no there's not a hidden player, I don't think, on the defense side of the ball that's going to fix everything. But there is light at the end of the tunnel for this team. Whether or not they get there is something else entirely.
That being said, I've never thought of you as a negative Nancy. Maybe a crusty Karen, but not a Karen. But
did you see my post?
Here's one thing I want to stress because the media gets shots at them all the time. Yes, injuries have been a problem. Yes, recruiting and talent have been a problem. But don't think I'm sitting here and saying that everything the coaches have done is right. It's not.
True.
There's a lot of valid criticism you can heap on Coach Pittman, you can heap on Coach Browse, you can heap on Coach Odom. Now, is it fireable for those coordinators? I don't think so. That's a job for Pittman. People keep talking about how he won't fire his friends and all that. Well, he's fired 5 guys in the last 2 years. I think that somewhat has gone unnoticed.
3
job done in recruiting, or he has a conflict with you, you're out of here.
Yeah.
So if he feels like those 2 coordinators need to move on, he may not fire them, but he may help them, with new jobs. If he doesn't, they'll all go back to work and walk at lunch and all that. There's no way you should criticize a man for having friends, but in the end, you make a business decision because if they don't get it done, and you're in charge, then it is it's on you.
Yeah. And yeah, three different defensive line coaches in 3 years, 2 different linebacker coaches in 3 years.
I think that Isaiah Nichols has had 4 defensive line coaches overall.
That's crazy.
That's what he said. That's
crazy. That's not very common anywhere. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I don't think so. I've never heard of that where a player, not at Arkansas anyways, where a player had 4. We've seen multiple coordinators, but not that many.
Could happen at Alabama because he runs them through and out in the Nick Saban coach rehabilitation center that he has down there and sends them on to head coaches and other spots. So that could be a case. But that's a matter of them not living up to the standard he wants, not because they're good coaches or anything.
Yeah. Well, we have our predictions. I don't know if that got posted yet on Hogville, but we have our picks. It doesn't look like it is, but those should be out either today or tomorrow. I'll have to get with Otis. But you guys know, if you follow me on Tuss Talk with Ty YouTube or in the Discord, I'll have my official pick for you guys tomorrow. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hop on over to hogville.net for all things Razorbacks. Dudley's got you covered, Otis, Kirk, and of course Kevin McPherson. They've all three got you going. I said 30 minutes. We went a little bit over. Really, there's a lot more we could talk about, but I'll just end it with this. Well, it's still a tough stretch. People who say that, we got the worst behind us, that might be true, but the schedule is still brutal. Ole Miss looks to be legit. LSU looks to be a lot better than I thought they were. Mizzou is scrappy. It doesn't get any easier from here on out. And so that's why I say I like some of the moves that they're making, Dudley, on the defensive side of the ball, trying to find what works, moving guys around, moving Clark over to safety and all that. But it's certainly
I have seen that Arkansas is +5 against the bye week next week. So.
Did you see? I don't know if I just caught this. Arkansas and BYU right now, it's at a lock.
Something's going on that we don't know about.
Spread is even.
But they know. The Vegas people know.
Something's going on. Over under at 66. So
Hall got injured last week too. So maybe they know more than we do on that. But, I will not make our picks, but I can tell you that I am not picking Alabama, and I'm not picking Arkansas. So.
So you went with the tenor pick. Okay.
It's time for us to break that 4-way tie at the top.
I haven't even looked. Is it 4-way tie at first?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming. Well, I picked Tennessee too. I did. I picked Tennessee.
But if Bryce was going to play for sure, yes, maybe. But I still think Tennessee might beat them. Tennessee, I have been wary, but now I'm bought in.
Their secondary somehow is worse than ours. It's bad. It's a bad secondary. Their defense overall not very good.
A lot of points. They convert in the red zone.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Go to hogville.net for free content. I will be live tomorrow. Don't know the time yet. I'll try to keep you guys up to date. You guys know I kind of have to make it up as I go on Fridays especially. So I will see some of you, hopefully a lot of you tomorrow. Dudley, I will talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.
See ya.